So, I think the Toronto Raptors actually have a pretty interesting offseason. And I think their big decision is if they want to re sign Kyle Lowry, because that really swings their entire future, not for next season, but for next season and for the long term. Because if they do bring him back, you'd expect that they'd be good next season with Lowry, Van Fleet, Anunoby, Siakam, and then maybe some other additions between the fourth pick and free agency. But there are also some negatives, like they would have no real cap space if they were to bring him back. I believe they have about $24 million, and he would take up most, if not all of that. So that would really hurt the Raptors for cap space wise, bringing back Lowry. And then also bringing back Lowry could maybe encourage a win now trade. If you think, because he's getting older, he's in his mid-30s now, and while most of the Raptors are pretty young and just entering their primes, a win now trade could really be their last chance at true championship contention with Lowry. Because if they don't, they're probably just a team who can be a high seed with their defense, and they're obviously very well coached with Nick Nurse, but probably isn't going to win the championship and make it past a team like the Nets in the Eastern Conference. So yeah, bringing him back does have some pros and cons, and then also letting him walk does. If you do let Kyle Lowry walk, then you have 20 plus million in cap space, which could be used to sign maybe a younger restricted free agent like Lonzo Ball or Jared Allen. There's plenty of free agents out there, and it gives the Raptors more flexibility, that's for sure. It would also mean that they'd be in less of a win now mode, and it would give them more time to develop the fourth overall pick, whoever they select with that pick. They could really give them some time, because the expectation wouldn't be to win now, but maybe to win with the next generation, with guys like guys like Van Fleet and Siakam and Anunoby being more the veterans, and maybe a team led by the fourth overall pick, whoever that may be. And yeah, maybe trade some other players also if they're gonna let Lowry walk. Maybe you want to go into a full rebuild. Trade Siakam and Van Fleet, though I very, very much doubt the Raptors want to do that. I don't think that's where they'd be going. I think if they were to let Lowry walk, they'd be going for more of a retool than a full-on rebuild. And then, of course, there's the in-between, which would be a Kyle Lowry sign-in trade. And I guess the teams to think about there are the Lakers, the Clippers, and the Sixers. With the Lakers, you could probably get Montrezl Harrell if he takes his player option. Probably Kyle Kuzma would be in the move, and I believe they can offer 1 or 2 first-round picks, though I don't know how many of them they'd be willing to shell out. And then the Clippers move isn't as good. It's probably Kennard and Zubac, which I don't know how enthusiastic the Raptors would be about that. And then the Sixers, it's tough with the Sixers because they don't have much available salary cap in players to trade that wouldn't be detrimental to the roster. So I haven't really thought of a exact move, but it'd be probably some of their smaller contracts like Korkmaz, and I'm sure the Raptors would like either Maxey or Thibault. But yeah, the sign and trade is sort of like the in between, though those are really tough to figure out in real life. So yeah, I think the big thing for the Raptors is if they want to re-sign Kyle Lowry. And then the next thing is probably the fourth pick, because for a team like the Raptors, they haven't been able to select this high in the draft in a while. So you would think that this is a great chance to get a player who can bridge the gap between the guys like Van Fleet and Siakam and OG, and then also the next generation. And this also could be a potential franchise player. As I mentioned, the Raptors don't have many high picks on their roster. I believe when they won the championship, they didn't have any lottery picks. So yeah, the fourth pick is a big opportunity. There's also the potential of trading it. As I mentioned, in this timeline, they're probably bringing back Lowry and moving the fourth overall pick with maybe Siakam for a superstar. I mean, I don't know who that player is right now, but that is a potential thing. But I think they'll most likely use it and get whoever remains of Cade, Green, Mobley, and Suggs, because I think those guys are probably the 4 best players in the draft. But yeah, it's interesting to see who falls to them with the 4th overall pick. And maybe they want to move up a little bit and get, I think Mobley would probably be the guy they'd be targeting, because center has really been a position of need for the Raptors last season. Yeah. A few more things they have to deal with in free agency is Gary Trent Jr. He's a restricted free agent. I think they should re-sign him, and I think they will. I can't see his contract being too high, but that's still a contract on the books. But it's also going to be a movable contract, I would presume, given that Gary Trent Jr. is a young player who can shoot, and those are valuable in the NBA. And then the last thing would be a free agent signing, and I think, if they bring back Lowry, they won't have too much space, but I think they definitely need a center. As I mentioned, it was a huge position of need for them last season with Baines, who just wasn't doing it. They could obviously re-sign Khem Birch. He came in at the buyout market, and I thought he was pretty decent for them. Played solid defense, can shoot a little bit. It wouldn't be the worst thing, but then they could also go after someone like Rashawn Holmes, Andre Drummond, or Nerlens Noel. Those are the 3, I would say, free agents that are probably the most possible. I think any one of them would be good for the Raptors. I think Holmes might be out of their price range though if they bring back Lowry. I think Nerlens Noel would be a great option because he can play, let's say, 25 minutes a game, and for the rest of the time the Raptors can go with either Birch if they bring him back, or with Siakam and OG Anunoby as the front court. And they did play small a little bit, and it was pretty good last season. But yeah, I like Nerlens Noel because he can protect the rim, and he can also catch lobs and set screens offensively. So I think he would be a good fit with the Raptors system, and just the type of player that they need at center. Or the final option for centers, they can move up and get Mobley, as I alluded to earlier. I think if you're going up to get Mobley, you probably bring back Khem Birch, and that's your center rotation. And I think that would be pretty good. Khem Birch could be the starter while Mobley develops and grows. I think Mobley could fit into what the Raptors do defensively, since he's long and athletic and could probably, run out and close out to shooters and that sort of thing. And then offensively, it might not be great, but I think the Raptors offense, like between Van Fleet and Lowry, if they bring him back, and then having Siakam, and then maybe a step up from OG Anunoby in terms of, maybe a little bit more on-ball creation, I think the Raptors can be fine offensively. So yeah, the Raptors have an interesting offseason. The big thing is obviously if they want to re-sign Lowry. But anyways, thanks for watching this video, guys. Leave a like, subscribe to this channel for more NBA content, and I'll see you guys next time.